You were anticipating a tricky car in that race. Did it prove to be as tricky as you thought?
The beginning was, let's say, not easy. I mean, I just tried to drive to the pace that we set out to do, but that is, of course, not at the same level as the cars ahead. So yeah, the medium was probably a bit more difficult, but actually on the hard tire, I think from basically that second half phase, we seemed a bit more competitive, more promising at least, and yeah, that was at least enjoyable. Trying to catch the cars ahead, having a bit of a fight as well. So I think we'll take that as a positive, that there is space in the car at some point. Just need to understand probably a bit more, why it didn't happen in the beginning and why at the end of the race it was better.
I think you put a pass on Charles I've never seen before in that quarter. It must be pleasing that, like you said, the pace came back to you, but also you are able to take the fight to your rivals Ferrari.
Yeah, it's positive. We're better than expected after that first stint in the race, I think. So yeah, we'll take that, and we'll analyze everything from the weekend, and hopefully in Japan we can be a bit more competitive.
Starting off on a rough note only amplified the impact of Verstappen's comeback. The transition to a more competitive pace in the second half underscored his racing intelligence and resilience. This display of adaptability and tactical brilliance is exactly what propels him to the forefront of Formula One competition.
Max, I know there was a tricky start, but if we could talk about towards the end of the race where you did catch Charles and overtake him, and the car seemed to come alive a bit. I know you were just saying that you don't necessarily think it's low fuel, so is that an area the team can work on for you going forward and find out why it was so much better at that point?
If it's possible to adjust, yeah. I mean, certainly I just picked up tire grip, not balance. The balance is the same, but more tire grip, where maybe others just plateaued a bit more. And then, of course, the lap times were more promising for us, at least. And it was also, of course, a bit more fun to drive, have a few battles, because the first half of the race was quite tough. But we just set out to do our own pace. Before in the sprint, I tried to keep up with them, but then my tires died. So I just did my own pace. The tires were still in a decent shape when I had to pit, because others were pitting around me. But yeah, that is also not... I guess how we want to race, right? I mean, at least I want to try and keep up and hang in there. But a lot to analyze, I think. But at least the second stint was a lot more positive, more promising as well for us. And I hope that we can take some learnings out of that going into Japan.
Is it a case of small increments at the moment for you and the team in terms of improvements?
It's difficult to say when you don't really know where to find it or how to find it at the moment. But at least that last stint, I would say, gives a bit more of a clearer picture. But we'll go through all the data, and we have 10 days. Hopefully we can learn a little bit more and be a bit more competitive in 10 days.
Just finally for me, how long are you prepared to give the team if this car is tricky? How much longer are you happy to just stay and help them work through it?
I hear this all the time, but for me nothing changes. I'm actually very relaxed. I'm very positive in my mind. I'm enjoying life, so every time I jump in the car I just try to do the best I can, and I'm not thinking about anything else, to be honest, because I feel good in life in general, if that's in the car, outside the car, and that's actually what matters the most.
Verstappen's commentary reveals a calculated and positive mindset amid challenges, highlighting a pivotal improvement in tire grip that elevated his performance. His focus on detailed data analysis and incremental improvements sets a clear path toward enhanced competitiveness in Japan. The blend of technical adjustments and a relaxed, confident approach underscores his commitment to excellence.
Very philosophical Max Verstappen there, and Christian Horner's alongside us now. Just tell us, we did see some pace come to him towards the latter stages of the race. Is there anything you would have done differently, do you think?
Well, I think that first stint was where we gave away all the time. If you look at Max came in for the pit stop, 18 seconds behind Oscar, and at the checker flag he was 16 seconds behind. So on the hard tire we were pretty competitive. So I think we need to understand, maybe we overcompensated based on the degradation we saw yesterday. For sure we need to find a little bit more pace, then just life is easier. But he drove another great race today. The pass on Charles, he caught the Ferraris, he passed Charles. And a fourth place finish and important points, but we know we've still got plenty to do.
And he's enjoying himself, clearly.
Just taking a step back, Christian, it kind of feels like we've carried on from the end of last year, isn't it? McLaren with seemingly the quickest car, a 10th or 2. Have you guys understood where the performance deficiencies are, and are you going to try and correct that for this year, or are we already thinking, you know what, this is a McLaren year, we've got to get 26 right?
Corinne, it's race 2. It can't be that defeatist. I mean, we're 8 points behind in the Drivers' Championship after 2 races. And there's everything to play for. And if nothing else, last year teaches you, you can start as strong as you like. It's how you finish. And look, we've got great strength and depth in our team. Everybody in the company knows we've got a bit of pace to find. And, we've got the tools, we've got the people in order to do that. It's just unpicking it. I think we've got some very good data out of today. Max is working harder than I've ever seen him. He's more integrated into the engineering group than I've ever seen. And, as he said, he seems to be enjoying, that aspect. So he's not getting, super stressed. He's, of course, like any driver, impatient for performance, but he's working with the engineers to say, okay, what about this? What about this? This is what I'm experiencing as a driver. This is where I need the lap time from, and that's the only way collectively that we're going to get performance.
To speak of the other driver then a little bit, Christian, Liam, I know there was a lot of changes, I think, or you can tell me a lot of changes or not, but some changes overnight to start from the pit lane. Was there learning on that car that's useful for the overall car concept, or just specific to Liam?
Yeah, look, I mean, we made the decision to take him off the grid, out of Parc Fermé, to try some radical changes on the setup, because obviously you're so limited in testing with these cars. So it made sense to say, okay, look, we're starting at the back. Let's try and learn something out of the day. We've done that. We've got 56 laps worth of information with a radically different setup, on the car. Again, that gives huge information back into the factory, back into that system, as we're looking to improve our performance in the forthcoming races.
We heard some strong words of support actually from Max for Liam, just saying, look, it's not an easy car to drive. Have you had the chance to talk to Liam yet? We saw some quite feisty little moves from him out there, but ultimately he was always going to be on the back foot coming into this race, wasn't he? Yeah,
look, I mean, Liam is a great little racer. I mean, he gets his elbows out, he races hard. He's just struggling at the moment, finding the limit with this car, getting the most out of the car. And of course, as a team, as a group, we're looking to support him in the best way that we can. So he'll be in the debrief giving all that information to the engineers very shortly.
So presumably the headache for you is that you want to find performance for Max, but equally could you sacrifice some peak performance in order to make the car easier for Liam to drive? Like, which direction do you turn?
Well, look, you're always going for ultimate performance, and fast cars are never easy cars to drive, but we know that there's performance that we need to find, and we need both drivers up there, if there's to be any chance of fighting for a Constructors' Championship. So, and at the very least with the Drivers' Championship as well, you need to have a second car in play. You can't just do it one-legged. So, we want, as a team, collectively, to make sure that we're getting the best out of both drivers and getting both cars as far up the grid as we can.
Now, Liam did say yesterday he knows he hasn't got the luxury of time at this team, but will you give that to him?
Well, look, Formula One is a pressure business, isn't it? And there's always time pressure, and he knows that, and hopefully he'll respond accordingly, and we'll see where we go.
Okay, thanks, Christian. Thank you very much for your time. Let's hear now from Liam Lawson.
Max's contribution extends far beyond just his race results. His insights and data-driven feedback are transforming team strategies. His ability to maintain peak performance amid evolving team challenges underscores his status as a true leader.
Hi, Liam. The race today, what can you take from it? How is the car feeling out there? I mean, at one point we had a radio message saying you can't turn in.
Yeah, I mean, we tried to do something quite aggressive today with setup. That's why we started from the pit lane. Mostly to learn something and get an idea. I think we definitely learned something, and it just didn't work today. So I think looking at the sprint yesterday, we were a lot more competitive, able to overtake cars and stuff. Today it was just a lot more difficult. So it's something we'll learn from. But obviously there's plenty that I've got to work on personally as well.
You said something to me yesterday that I know a lot of people have picked up on, so I just wanted to have you clarify. You said you need time in this car and you don't have time. What did you mean?
We're in the season. I mean, that's, we're 2 races in, and we're racing, and it's something that, it's something that you'd love to have 60 test days or things like that. And I know a lot of the other guys tested a lot out of season, and unfortunately it's not something we did, but it's not something we can do in this car anyway. So it's just one of those things. It's not an excuse. It's just something that I've got to get on top of as quickly as I can.
Christian said to us, and we know that the car has been engineered towards Max these last few years. How difficult is it to adapt? Can the team help and engineer it more in a direction you can drive it, your car? How big is the issue? Or how
I
big
think
is the
honestly
challenge?
that's really what we tried today. The direction we went today was to basically support that and make the car a bit easier in a lot of ways, and just help the balance. But unfortunately, it just it went the wrong way, and it made the car just a lot harder a lot slower, basically. So it's the way it is, and it's something I've got to get my head around.
Can you take any comfort and confidence in the fact that Max was spoken to the press as well and said this is a really difficult car to drive, and that you would be quick in any other car? It's just this car is so difficult.
But not really. It's just I want to be at the front, and I will just keep working to try and achieve that.
Liam's remarks paint a clear picture of the challenges faced when adapting a car engineered with Max in mind. His struggle with the setup and limited track time emphasizes the steep learning curve involved. The team's ongoing task is to find the right balance to boost overall competitiveness while maintaining the high standards set by Max.
To be honest, we were even more competitive in yesterday's sprint. We were able to overtake cars and move forward. It's just we tried something with setup to learn something today. It was quite a big step, and unfortunately it just didn't work. So a lot to learn from this weekend. A lot for me personally to get on top of as well. It's just been extremely tough.
Could the lessons from today's challenging setup be the catalyst for a major performance leap? Liam's competitiveness highlights the inherent potential, even if the experiment didn't work as planned. Isn't every tough lesson a stepping stone to success?